Hey, Dan Meyer here, and I'm back with part 2 of Data Mining 101 for virtual assistants. The idea behind this video, and if you didn't catch the first part, you can catch it after you watch this one. Basically, I'm going to walk you through a case study of the 5 things you need to do to be able to do good data mining for a business. So the first thing is you want to collect your data, make sure you have all the right data you need to answer questions for that business. You want to put it in some kind of storage, some kind of cloud storage place where you can access the data, add to it, edit it, share it. You want to be able to make sure that you have a good way to analyze the data. Most of us use Excel for that. There are other tools out there. You want to build data models. You can use a pivot table to do this, or you can use other tools to help you build data models. And you want to report or share the results of your analysis. We mainly use PowerPoint to do this, but you can also use all kinds of cool tools, my favorite being Tableau for that. So that's what we talked about yesterday. Today I'm going to go through a case study of how I helped a business. I was a consultant for a business called Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. Now, Coffee Bean's an LA-based coffee chain, kind of like a Starbucks type company. A few years back, they made a big push into Southeast Asia. They went really big on trying to set up coffee shops across multiple countries. And in the Philippines especially, they were having some problems. They were struggling with their sales, and more importantly, trying to figure out how to understand why certain stores, certain locations were not selling a lot of coffee. And so they had a couple of business analysts that were trying to figure this out, and they needed help. And so what they did is they came to me, and with my help, as well as a couple of my virtual assistants helping me crunch some of the information, we were able to help them figure out what was going on at Coffee Bean in the Philippines and help them get back on course to sell more coffee. And basically we did it by walking through this process. And so the first thing we had to do is collect data. And I asked them how to collect data, and the analysts weren't quite sure where to even start. So what I thought about is, if you're thinking of your business, all the data around your business, you want to think about everything, and that can be overwhelming. There's so much data out there. Where do you start, right? Number one question people have about when it's like working with business analytics and data analysis is, where do I start? Well, what I did is I took a receipt. I actually had a receipt that I had stopped into a Coffee Bean in Manila, and I had to really quick go through and get something done. I went into the store, I got a cookie, I walked out. I kept the receipt. So when I met with the Coffee Bean guys, unintentionally a couple months later, I had the receipt in my tax stuff. So I brought it with me to the meeting with the Coffee Bean guys to help them think about how they can start broadening their minds about the use of data. And so when it comes to data collection, I asked them to look at the receipt and think about all the data sources that they have available to them based on the information in the point of sale transaction receipt, right? Things like physical location, geographic location, the staff name, the machine used, the date of the week, the time of the day, what was ordered, what was not ordered, what payment method was made. All these things help you understand customer behavior, help you understand customer decision making. This is what you need to understand to be able to know why certain stores are struggling to sell coffee. And it starts with thinking about the data you have available to you and how to analyze it. So that's what we did. We started looking at data that comes from their cash register receipts. A lot of small businesses collect data like this. You have data that comes through transactional data or inventory data. And we started looking at that, and then I started asking them more questions about, what is it that you have access to besides this point of sale data? If you're trying to figure out why stores are selling less coffee than expected, can it be an inventory problem? Do they not have enough coffee? Is it even an issue if they're making money in other areas? Do you care that they're not selling coffee, but they're making a profit because they're selling a lot of tea or a lot of cookies and desserts? Is it the people? Are they not trained right? Do you need to look at the information on HR, on training? Do you understand the market? Are these stores in bad locations where people just don't buy a lot of coffee? Do you understand what's going on with your customers, right? Are customers happy with you? Are you looking at your social media feedback? You're looking at customer satisfactions surveys. Taking all the data available to you can be a challenge, and you want to go out and collect and analyze as much data as possible to answer a question which on the surface might have seemed pretty simple. Why are certain stores having lower coffee sales? This is what you want to understand. And you also want to look at the competition, right? So you do these things and you can understand better what's going on. So we went out and we asked them to compile a list of data. And with my team, we went through their data and helped them figure out what was going on in their business, right? We looked at the transaction database, their employee master list, having information about who was hired when, what training they had. We looked at the department spreadsheets for finance to make sure that certain stores that were not selling coffee, were they profitable or not? Basically, we wanted to answer every question that we could think of using the data we had available to us. There was some data we didn't have available to us. We had to go outside the data sets to get it. We had to get external data. We had to look at competitor stuff. We didn't know if our coffee was not selling because it was more expensive than the competition. So we had to go out and actually look and see what Starbucks was selling a coffee for and so forth. In fact, some of the stores that we were talking about were in places with 5, 6, 7 other coffee competitors within a couple blocks, if not in the same physical location. Like, for example, the receipt you're looking at, that was a coffee bean in a mall. And in that mall, there were 5 other coffee places besides Coffee Bean people can go and buy coffee. So of course, there's a lot of competition we had to look at. Then look at demographics. People are buying less coffee. If you are located in a place, especially with Gen Z or millennials, they're more likely to buy things like milk tea or pearl tea or things like that. Maybe they're not buying coffee at all. Maybe they're buying energy drinks or kombucha or anything that will make them healthier and happier, because coffee tends to, even though it gives us a charge, we know it has a negative consequence on our body. So all this stuff has to be considered before you can really answer the question, why are stores having low coffee sales? So as you can see, what started as a simple question can look pretty simple at first until you dig into the data and then you understand it better. And you have to do this as you're collecting and storing the data and analyzing the data. You start seeing patterns. You start discovering what may be causing things. We found out that in certain locations, it had a training issue with the staff was the issue. In some locations, they had small storage rooms, so they didn't have a lot of inventory. In some stores, it was because they were in a hyper-competitive market and they were having the most expensive coffee on the block. Each of these answers required different solutions that Coffee Bean had to go and implement, but they never would have understood the complexity of the question they asked if they hadn't looked at the data. If they hadn't collected the data, stored the data, analyzed the data, modeled the data, and then reported it back. So we were able to give back to Coffee Bean recommendations on what to do based on a store level. And they have, I think it's something like 60 stores in Metro Manila. In each store's case, what they should do to increase coffee sales depending on the different data points that we gathered. So that may seem like a lot, right? When you look at the data map that I have my team build, basically you're taking all this data, you're funneling it through a database, like you're collecting data, put it in data storage, you're doing your analysis as an analyst, as a virtual assistant working as an analyst for a company, and then you're sharing that information, you're modeling it and you're sharing it. And when you do that, people can make decisions. So I basically just took a whole day, if not a week-long course in data mining and boiled it down into this one case study I just walked you through. So if that's something that interests you, if you're kind of curious about how to have this done in your business, if you have a lot of data, if you have multiple locations, if you have a lot of products, if you're a medium-sized business, you should be having great analysis done. And if you're not getting the kind of insights that helps you figure out solutions to every one of your problems, I have virtual assistants who can do the analytics for you, right? My company helps you figure out what you can do best by hiring for all the rest, right? If you want more consistency, more clarity, and more certainty, then you get started today by texting the word data to 26786. You text the word data to 26786, you get a form back, you fill it out, you tell us kind of what is it, the challenges you're having in your business, what are some of the data that you want to look at to help you solve the problem, and we'll get started from there. You can also go to our website, sonicva.com. It's sonicva.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to figure out what it is that you want to get started with us, right? You'll look at the different things that we can do analysis on, the different types of data we can pull for you, and we can get started by having a virtual assistant dive into your data and start you going the right direction. So hopefully that helped. It was a lot. Again, I squeezed a whole day's content into about 20 minutes here. Over 2 days. So look at the videos. If it sparks interest, if you want to hire a VA to help you mine your data to give you better insights, the time to start is right now. So thanks a lot for your time. Now go out there and have a wonderful day.